All right. Well, shalom and peace to each and every one. Namaste. I hope you guys are living a blessed life and learning and growing and finding peace and looking inside and all of the things that are all part of a reality. I don't say reality, it is actually of a reality, which there are thousands of. And so, for those who are looking for more, maybe you hear something inside of you. There's a lot of explanations as to why people do what they do, and all of them are significant, at least if nobody else, to the person. And inevitably, I think that there comes a place where it does matter which reality you pick, but still in all, it's a choice. So in my journey for truth and for ancient texts and tying, I've found over and over again, as I've showed you guys, little by little, I'm trying to bring stuff, but some of it is so deep that you have to have a really good understanding, or it kind of really isn't, I don't think, is any help. That's why I start something and recognize it's too much and I quit. It's not that I don't understand. I don't have a problem understanding it. I'm just not sure other people will. And so it's really more of a protection agent than anything. But for those that have been a while, I know that at least once, maybe twice, I've gone through the book of Enoch. And unfortunately, the book of Enochs that exist are ancient texts at one level. And so I'm kind of setting up the lawyer clauses for forward. Enoch is an ancient text. It is pre-Christian, and that's my focus at this point on it. It is still a Christian document. And so there's many things here that you're going to hear and go, oh, well, wow, that's what we've always known. And so why did I say that? I say that to kind of set the stage. There's some pieces here that are pertinent. I want to share them whether you understand them or not at that level, because inevitably they are going to be brought out with more ancient texts, and the validity of them, true or false, is going to be exposed. I have a couple of hunches about some things, but until Source brings the documentation, which he always does, to prove something out, it is really... it really kind of ends up being an open door. So Marianne has tirelessly put, I believe, a link for those that have any interest to go find it. This is the true Ethiopian text that predated Christianity. It predated Jesus. It predated all of those things. I could real quickly give you a little of the lineage. Abimelech was the son of a Nubian woman who went and met and fell in love with Solomon, and likewise, and was impregnated while she was there, and she went back to her home country, Ethiopia, and she bore a king child. It is said that Solomon gave him as a gift and inheritance, although he had hundreds of other children, he gave this child the Ark of the Covenant, which sits in protection in Ethiopia right now. Nobody knows if any of that is true, because you can't see the ark, and this is really some of the first of the ancient. This document was originally written in a voice which is called Ge'ez, which is an ancient Ethiopian holy religious language. It's not what Ethiopia normally spoke. This is what the priests spoke, and that kind of intrigued me, because inevitably you must see pieces of Sumerian in it or it's fake. Everything that exists about ancient history after Sumeria will have Sumerian in it, or it was written out of someone's mind. That may sound like a lot. For me, it's made things very simple. And I haven't found most of the major stories. I have been able to find stories of them that came out that were 1,000 years older at least. I share those things when they come up. The whole Moses thing happened 1,000 years before Moses ever lived on the earth. Moses was a mystical prince that was taken in Egypt, on and on and on. Most of those stories are just stories made by human minds. So in the search for what is, there's a process. Humans are uniquely designed by Anki to be able to discern patterns, but the problem is what patterns you see determine your reality, your truth, your ability. And so that's a whole nother psychological class all on its own, and nobody's paying for it, so I'm not giving it. So that's what is really popping up is the dissertation. But there's some really wonderful things that he says, and I think that those things, which is really why I'm here, I really believe some of these things are actually pieces that are going to come out of the Sumerian, and it will be easy to see, well, the document wasn't real, but this was. And so I'll leave that at that and go. In this ancient text, there were, from chapter 37 to chapter 71 are called the three parables of Enoch. Enoch was too deep for most New Age Christians, although I did meet a few that read it, and though they were mystified, they knew there was something there, and that's wonderful, the fact that they knew. And so we're going to pick up in chapter 37, the beginning of the parables, and I'm going to read, if not today, then next week. I'm going to read through the three parables, the three Ethiopian ancient parables, not the modern parables of Enoch, and we will see what manifests. You may see some things and learn something. You may see some things and go, wow, I kind of thought that might be the truth, but we'll see. And so 37:1, Enoch says, "These things being shown to me by another companion to gain wisdom, I, Enoch, beheld, who was conceived by Yered, conceived by Mahalalel, conceived by Canaan, conceived by Seth, who was conceived by Adam." All of that stuff exists in the Bible, but there is no validity of any of it. They cannot prove any of those lineages. They will tell you that the Jews believe those lineages are correct, but there is no proof of those lineages. This writing is coming from the Most High, which I desire to proclaim, becoming wisdom for those stirred up for information, and then the tone is set in the end time. Now, anybody who's been should know, without even a thought, that all of Enoch 1 was supposedly written for those people that would exist at the end of time. Where that parallels Sumerian is all of the deep writings of Sumeria were on a circuit and a time level that would come at sometimes. Many of those circuits are thousands of years. Okay, so you kind of get a little nuance. Okay, they're borrowing from the Sumerian picture that cycles exist, long cycles, and the Aztecs had long cycles and they had short cycles, all based off the stars. And you notice that Enoch is very much tied to the stars. So that tells you that somewhere in this lineage, the person at least had knowledge of ancient mysticism. And this writing is coming from the Most High, which I desire to proclaim, becoming wisdom for those stirred up for information in the end time, saying to them dwelling on dry land, give heed to these forefathers, considering those things declared from the beginning, holy things spoken beforehand by the angels of the Most High. That is to say, those forefathers found these things spoken by the angels of the Most High more suitable than those expressed by the fallen watchers. However, they did not understand him. The writer puts Yahweh. Yahweh is not part of the original text. They did not understand him to become this chief held within those words, which is my purpose for revealing this wisdom to the end days. So Enoch says all that he wrote was not for his time. It wasn't for the people that lived during his life. It was for a time that would be called the end. Most of the Sumerian ancient writings outside of the receipts and tax stamps and all of that stuff, which is a part of their cosmology, all of it is written for another time. So that's an ancient concept by thousands of years. Up till now, this wisdom given to me was not granted to my forefathers. Knowledge like unto this wisdom has precedence, being secured from the Lord of all spirits. These words I ponder, for through singing I received for gaining understanding. And understanding was given to me by the desire of the Lord of all spirits. Just so you know, the concept of the singing and he got wisdom, it could be more properly spoken of in our time as he was doing an enchantment. That's what they just like the Indians danced around the fire to speak with the gods. There have always been mystical people who do enchantments. They were in the Sumerian cosmology and every cosmology since then. That's why people go to church and sing songs to God. Whether you understand it or not, you are doing an enchantment just like the devil worshippers do. Not that there is one, but that's what they believe to be the truth. And so these words I ponder, or through singing, I received them. An understanding was given to me by the desire of the Lord of all spirits, allotting wisdom to me in words, so that those saved from death can participate in eternal things. It came to be within me an understanding of the time close to completion when they received their divine sentence. And while I was in the presence, he appointed me to be a writer for all they who dwell upon the dry land. Chapter 38. This is the first parable coming before the return, when the fallen watchers themselves take notice of the vast assembly of they that render justice. When the sinners, the fallen watchers, are punished by the fact of depriving them of being on the face of the earth, at the time of his appearance, they, speaking the truth of his teaching, will see the innocent chosen one made of righteousness. His return will be seen by those who crucified him, being the Lord of all spirits. The enemy will not be able to conceal the brightness of those who are justified. So we have justification in this concept at this time frame as being manifested by people of light, okay, consciousness, and pointed to be their place of habitation. These legitimized to be there will be dwelling with them, depraved of that place. Those who denounce he who is to be the Lord of all spirits will rail against him when they ascend into battle at his return, because they of his bloodline are more suitable to be there. So we yet again have, and there's much coming out of Sumeria about the distinction in bloodlines. He gets into a few things that you must almost, if you know any of this information, that he was sitting reading ancient documents from Sumeria, writing this letter. When they uncovered that hidden thing with a desire for truth, they who govern will fail. So there is a precedence timeline. I can't tell you how many texts that I've heard and seen where what comes is precipitated by the behavior of humans, whether destruction, whether flood again, whether pole shifts, whether burnings, all of which there's actually more evidence for a burning of this earth in the book of Revelation, which is a Sumerian concept. It has already happened to the earth at least once that's recorded, where the earth was burnt with a fervent heat, directly out of the book of Revelation. They weren't quoting their belief systems. They were playing off of a 3,000-year-old document at that time. And so when they will uncover the hidden thing with a desire for truth. So it's not about uncovering it. It really is about the desire for truth. Not the desire for enlightenment, not the desire for consciousness, a innate desire in someone for the truth. They who govern will fail. They who acted impiously, perturbed from the appearance of they who are justified to be there, they of the chosen ones. So you could say that is manifesting at a micro level with what's happening to Christianity is collapsing. People are learning the truth at a breakneck rate, and people are leaving organized Christian religion because it is a lie. And that is the collapsing, very possibly, that Enoch is speaking of here. And so, from this time forward, the mighty fallen watchers will not exist there and will not be elevated to be seen there to dominate the earth again. Mankind made holy by the Lord of Spirits will not be able to see the faces of the fallen watchers again. He is leading in brightness at the front line of his army when treating them justly from the elected bloodline, those of mankind. So I hate to tell you, for all of your belief in the world famous Jesus, Jesus is only concerned about his people. It never has been. That appears in the New Testament. There are people of my house which you know nothing of. That is something outside of what most people have knowledge, have conceived, have thought, and would deal with even when it is presented to them. He isn't going to save the world if this person, which it isn't, is even Jesus. Let's read on. And so, it's a specific bloodline. I could take you back to multiple Sumerian situations where the knowledge of the bloodlines that exist today still exists. That knowledge does. And bloodline means everything. So the evil rulers of the world and they that instruct evil at that time will be destroyed, and they will be delivered into the pit by this sanctified hand, rendering justice to them. Then no compassion will be afforded those delivered into that pit when the Lord of Spirits indeed makes an end of them because of they that resurrect. That's also where you get the cosmology about resurrection. Paul had probably been reading the book of Enoch. And so it will happen through this one. There again, they add Yahweh, but if you take Yahweh out, it still reads, and it doesn't have any connotation tied to Yahweh after that. So it will happen through this one who on that day will go down, holy child, born from she who is chosen, exalted in heaven as the one who will meet the needs of them in the likeness of the seed of this begotten Son of Man. Son of Man. Through this occupation of writing, Henoch received books concerning the healing of the calamity to come. He will write with zeal concerning the trouble to come for the fallen watchers. Compassion will not come to pass for them, because what is said by the Lord of all spirits can be counted on to happen. I was carried off from the face of the earth in a storm of her spirit, wisdom, Sophia. Okay? I was carried off from the face of the earth by Sophia, by divine wisdom. When being set, allowing me to examine the confines of heaven. Because of being set in that place, I saw what was revealed by my companion, those luminaries enclosed there in heaven by him, things declared as holy, for them being faithful in their places of rest. Seeing into that place in heaven where he appears, it was the habitation for Azazel, himself in the company of the holy angels, who then laid themselves in a bed with those women who were sanctified. These women beseeching for mercy and surely found worthy when they saw the begotten Son of Man, giving him thanks, who treated them with justice in the way how his water was flowing out of him in their presence. The women received mercy so that they would be pure inside the earth, like those angels that will be amid mankind for an eternity. Through this place in heaven, it will happen to see the eyes of this elect one, assuring those who hope in this day, it will come to pass that justice is rendered from this one, who on that day will approve these counted amongst the chosen. Is it not the case that mankind will be in his presence forever? At a distant time, the Lord of all spirits will enclose the fallen watchers below the ground. He does this to restrain them from the chosen in his presence. The chosen race of mankind will be comforted when they are overflow with blessings, and their lips will praise the name of the Lord of all spirits and declare him the valid ruler. In his presence, the chosen race of man will not perish, resurrected to life, and they will not dwindle while in this presence. Once again, the chosen race of man. Folks, this message was not written to the whole world. It was written to one specific class of people. It starts that way and it ends that way. The deviation came after, which is why I desired for you to at least get an opportunity to hear the story in purity. In that place, I look after and desire my spirit to be dwelling as he dwells. I want to become as they who have formerly been bestowed, living like those with strength from the Lord of all spirits. In those days I was honored, and I lifted the name of the Lord of all spirits with blessings and praise, for he had encouraged me on account of showing me sacred things of his majesty in the way how I was permitted to see them by the Lord of all spirits. For a long time I beheld what had issued as a fountain on account of all of they that were there, and I blessed him and I praised him. Then I began to speak, saying, how excellent he is, and he will continue to bless as it was at the beginning unto mankind. Before the end, he, Satan, which is also another added word. Listen to it in concept without the added word. Before the end, he is not there. There was no need to add that word. That word, every one of these words that have been added to change your perception of the statement. You did not need it to get full understanding of what was originally said. If it is added for understanding, then that makes sense. But when there is a intention to modify thought, it is manipulation. And so, before the end, he is not there. From what happened at first, he that fashioned this world from the plan of what was to be, he is to be the one for this time regarding mankind, through whom will bear this Son who will be sufficient for this world. Mankind will praise the one through which they will not die, with everlasting life in the presence of his majesty. They on high will celebrate him, and they will sing, singing, sanctify him and declare him holy, he who is ordained to be the Lord of all spirits, who fills the earth with his spirit. I observed in that place the faces of all of they who do not die, because they abide in his presence. They will say, you are excellent, and praised be the name of the Lord of man, the Lord of mankind forever. Then I turned myself around from the presence of my companions, no longer seeing that which I observed. And I saw after this thousands upon 10,000-fold taken into account, and I regarded this to be a number not amongst numbers of they who stood in the presence of the Lord of all saints. I saw against the four sides of the Lord of all spirits 4 companions, again from those who sleep not. I addressed them, made known to me at that time, who will proclaim the name of he who comes by an envoy which comes in the presence of his company. And they hold him concealed before going through the process of revealing him again. And I witnessed the voices of these 4 praising before the Lord of all spirits. A voice goes before him, praising the Lord of all spirits of this world forever. And I heard a second voice when he began praising a selection of the chosen who hang upon the Lord of all spirits. I then heard a third voice beginning to invoke, as he supplicated on account of they who were living upon dry land, from them being capable of being there because of how the Lord of all spirits functioned. And then I heard a fourth voice speaking, even while the demons tried to express their views to him. Now dig on that one for a minute. So he's here having a dialogue with all of these hanging on him who are chosen, and he's having a dialogue with the demons who are trying to explain their perspective. And the demons were not allowed to proceed towards the Lord of all saints to make accusations to him concerning those who dwell on dry land. After that last voice, I consulted the Prince of Peace who was with me. So the Prince of Peace was with him, but wasn't the one. So which is it? Because I do not know these hidden things which he revealed to me. Then I spoke, who are they, these angels present, which I saw when I witnessed their voices, and I wrote down what came from them. Then, as for his part, he said to me, he who is the first that goes before, he who will have compassion at that distant time of calamity, this is Michael. Hello? The one who goes before, who has the information about the calamity, that person, that spirit, that being, that angel is Michael. Interesting. Second is he who is over all of the afflicted and wounded of those born to mankind. This is Raphael. Thirdly, is he who is over the restraining of those powerful ones. This is Gabriel. Fourthly, is he who is over those who repent, looking forward to inheriting everlasting life, and this is Phanuel. These 4 angels are for his purpose, who is the Lord of all spirits. The voice of these 4 I heard was on account of me being there on that day. Then after this I saw all the hidden things looking towards the heavens, and I saw the one who became king, and in what way he was allotted this assignment for those of mankind, and how he will be a fitting and a worthy judge. So the one who has become the king is the judge. And I saw the place with enclosures for evil to the advantage of the chosen. They were placed there together with them that were made holy. I beheld there the offspring of these fallen watchers. They were in that place with fallen watchers that sinned, now restrained, beginning their time of imprisonment, because they were impious to the function of the Lord of Spirits. These demons were summoned and placed in there because of succumbing to divine punishment by the Lord of all saints. And I saw the hiding places of the offspring of the fallen watchers. Within the thunderbolts and the sounds of thunder, I saw the secret things of these spirits, and the way how they make someone to participate when these spirits blow in opposition to mankind. Hidden things that are dark and soft. I saw the presence of people that rise because of he who comes, and they will fill that place as the dust of the earth. In that place I saw the chamber opposite from those separated from the spirits gathered there. This place being a chamber made from crystal, where the spirits are a thick vapor, whose darkness is against them who reside on the earth, because mankind has precedence to be there forever. And I saw the treasury of heaven, whence this that emanates light and this that reflects its light came forth, where they gathered and entered to glory, doing things in the way how to glorify. I saw the same that emanates light, intending to change their path. I saw those that emit light having dominion, and I did not depart from their course, and they did not join to him that did. They will not be short of their target, in which they are trustworthy to accomplish, safeguarding their journey in union with each other according to their agreement, which remained viable. First of all, it will come forth which emanates light, entered by command of the Lord of all spirit, and it will endure how it has functioned for mankind forever. After the concealed entrance of he that reflects light, then made manifest, when accomplishing the path on which he has journeyed, and he will appear on that day of division to join, aiming to alter them, so that they will appear in the presence of the glory of the Lord of all spirits, giving him blessing and praise. They do not rest in giving him praise, for he was this that was bringing the comfort. Since the highest who emits abundant light is he who restores the essence of those he blesses in opposition to cursing them. Since the highest who emits light, folks, is not Yahweh, that's why it is not there. The highest who emits light would have been called by Yeshua as monad, which is who we would call source. Now, had they chosen to put that word in there, 99% of people would have never questioned that that was Yahweh. 99.99% of people would have never questioned that. He is raising them to run on a path through. He that reflects his light, restoring those who were faithful to his leading. He that reflects his light, and they were faithful to his leading. You guys don't understand the significance of this today. Unfortunately, I don't think the Sumerians' number is off, actually, very much at all. In fact, I would say a higher probability the answer should be not at all. He that reflects his light, restoring those who were faithful to his leading. So what brings restoration? Only faithfulness to the leading of the one who reflects light. Also, restoring those failing in darknesses, because this is how he functions in compassion. He who is the possessor, who created these lights, contained within the midst of darkness, bestowing spirit to them, regarding all people, strengthening the people there, they that are justified to be there on earth are made sure of his faithfulness. Since the chief will not reject the perfection of mankind, which also is a metaphor that comes out of Sumeria of who Anki, the creator of humanity, is. Just so you know. Since the chief who will not reject the perfection of mankind, he will not hinder them by the prohibition of law, because of its condemnation towards them all. He will view all of them in his presence, and he will be the regulator. So the essence is, he will not pardon you for your wrong. The law is good. Doing right in the universal laws are eternal, and they are forever, and they will never be done away with. And you made a choice to break them, and you also made a choice to suffer because of it. That's how it works. Wickedness went out of the earth, supposing to accumulate whoever is not desiring to obtain this wisdom. So it's not that God did any of this. It's not Source did any of this. It's not Anki did any of this. This is spirit beings that are here legally, created in the aeons, and you chose them over the light. What I saw that day was due to how they were in his brightness while in the light from his presence. They were returning to life from the transformation of the brightest of lights. You can now see why you see pieces, although corrupt in many situations in our modern society, about the conversation of remembering the light that you are. It's why Yeshua said, you are the light of the world. He never once said everyone was. He never once said everyone would be. He simply was speaking to those initiates who knew something inside themselves about themselves was different than everyone else that they knew. And you can't learn that if you don't possess it, and you can't miss it if you do. And so then I saw at the return of the desires for a fitting judgment of the justified to be here. What I saw that day was due to how they were in his brightness while in the light from his presence. They were returning to life from the transformation of the brightness of lights, this begotten Son. He transformed the justified to be here on earth using the help of his numerous angels. The fact being is that they had confidence this would happen because of their treatment while in the company of his angels. Then they will ask the angel who proceeds along with them, who made those who were concealed in a grave to be seen? And what shall come to pass of these concealed who have now risen from those graves? Responding, he answered them, saying, this has come to pass so that all they who are his, the Lord of all spirits, has made them manifest. Now, I just shared with you guys the other day a document about nothing is manifest outside of the will of Source, and everything that is manifested is because of the will of Source, and sometimes it is Source's will to not manifest intentionally, just as it is his will to manifest intentionally. And here we are in a document 3,000 years younger, hearing pieces of the same message. Chapter 44. I saw the restraints for the luminaries and questioned how these restraints affected those luminaries. These restraints were sufficient to hold these lights so that they could not leave their prison by the addition of their bindings. And luminaries talking about typically stars, planets. Chapter 45. This begins the second parable concerning those who are contentious towards the name, those dwelling in heaven declared as holy, and to the Lord of all spirits. So this is to the contentious. He who ascended into heaven did not arrive on earth to be like those that became a division, like those did that sinned, becoming contentions to they named by the Lord of all spirits. This day he is to sit on his throne of glory, chosen as the elected one to do this his function and to be a resting place for the numerous who take refuge and praise his name. Is it not the case that the angels were in amongst them and will restore them at that time? The numerous will see him, he who was his selection from on high. This day, when he sits down as a light amongst them, he chose these registered in heaven and made them be blessings forever. Then the earth's surface will change to produce many blessings for his chosen, dwelling there on the surface, and they that sinned and deceived will be trodden down inside her. Now, many of you may not know anything about the Absu that is tied with Anki, which is the underworld, which was where they concocted the whole fake story of hell. It is the place of death. What is being said here is that there is a place that is a place of judgment that is under the earth, that you go there. I promise you, you can put the Sumerian story of the Abzu next to this story, and this story came from the story of the Abzu. We have listened here to texts who talk about not only what it is to go to the Absu when you die, but the process of going through the Absu. And so he says, indeed, right? Indeed, I have seen that they who are filled by his peace, covering them and giving them blessings. These are his priority when they are near to him, who has a dominion over those who sinned in the way, how he binds them henceforth from appearing on earth. And if you want to know, folks, that also exists in the Absu. Those belonging to him who rose on that day appeared with white woolen robes like unto the king, clothes comparable to each other, who had manifested by resurrection, filled with favor and being in the appearance and joined along with the holy angels. They joined with these holy angels, inquired of them that go forth, with each of them covered in the grave, which is now seen by him. The angels will reconcile for him the begotten Son of Man, saying, this Son of Man is how they rose, regarding those who rose from the grave on that day. Yahweh made them who are in the company of these angels. Now there are no brackets, but it is the only place, I believe, in this whole text where you see that word put. More appropriately, you could just as equally say source. You could have said God, and all would be appropriate in its level. Only one of them, though, is right. And the angel spoke again, saying to me, This is that Son of Man who for the Most High became faithful and approved, abiding in his company. It is this Son of Man who will manifest them who are concealed in the storerooms. He who is the Lord of all spirits is this chosen one who has defeated death on account of the resurrection of mankind. The Son of Man to be king, whom you saw, is the one raising them and giving strength to them, lying in their resting place, established them to live with him. The fallen watchers that sinned are administered justice by their restraints that have the effect of crushing them that plead for mercy. The fallen watchers that did wrong in their desire to dominate over the earth, if seated upon a throne, if it was a fact that they ruled, they sitting upon this throne will not give him praise nor homage from the place whence they deliver sovereignty. It's actually an indicator of something that you could still use today to know who and how is and isn't. But that is also all over the Sumerian tablets. They tell us what is and what is not so that we can then look and see for ourselves. So while destroying the strength of their presence, they will be full of fear, and their faces will not be seen, because of the quality of their enclosure when they are taken by force. They whose condition came from their desires to lie with women will not have confidence comparable to those who receive what is to be his rest, because they are not above their prison by the function of the Lord of spirits. When they came into being, those luminaries in heaven elevated to their places on high, then they walked upon the earth, making their abode upon her. These are the ones restrained because of the works of iniquity they displayed. These fallen watchers became workers of wickedness and prevailed over mankind. Nevertheless, mankind became the wealthy ones by a faithful promise, becoming the possessors of the earth. O you who occupied their place, that situation of iniquity arose from your opposition to him and the name of the Lord of all spirits. And you will be banished to rooms where you assembled there, will pine away from your enclosure and desire to be as they who hang upon the name of the Lord of all spirits. Prayers ascended from those treated with justice on that day. These prayers came from the blood justified to be on earth, while being in the presence of the Lord of all spirits. These on that day conjoined songs with these holy angels who were from heaven above, all joined together by their voices. Their calls are profitable for prayer on behalf of those whose blood spilled out. Their praise, thinking, and blessing the name of the Lord of spirits. The prayers from these made sure that they will never cease from being in his presence. The Lord of all spirits made it confident by the way he passed judgment on they then being restrained. So these in restraint do not exist to them for eternity. Because they on that day will see himself at the time he is seated on his throne of glory, from their names written down at their conception. I got to stop right there. You got to listen to this, because it's about to shake you up. If you have any heart at all, it's going to shake you up. If you hear it, if you don't hear it, then so be it. Don't worry about it. But if you do hear it, you should think. Listen at this. Because they, on that day, will see himself at the time he is seated on his throne of glory, from their names written down at their conception. What does that mean? I think most American, well, we have some that won't, but most American understand the concept of conception. It is the very minute flash of divine light that creates life has nothing to do with the body other than being a carrier for it. It is the time in which divine light sparked inside of you. That is conception. That's when their name was written down. Mankind will resurrect in his presence and open their eyes. All of them will be in their strength after he who is from the high place of the heavens returns for mankind. After he who is, returns for mankind of his forming will be present. And in his presence, when they will open their eyes, seeing all the mighty ones from the high heavens, and deems his own to endure in his presence. The hearts of the holy ones will be complete with rejoicing, seeing that number drawing near to the innocent one. The holy ones will give prayers of intercession with a desire for their righteousness, which the holy ones will bear witness to when the blood of the justified stand before the Lord of all saints. On account of this one who comes to pass, I saw the justified flowing, and the flow did not cease. Surrounding those that came to pass were numerous fountains of wisdom, and the assembly was thirsty for what went out of them. Think about that. Ask yourself, do you see founts of people who are hungry for the flow of wisdom that is coming out of him at this time? It is a sign, dear one. It's nothing but a sign. I'm really sad to tell you guys, but we have been supposed to be conscious, aware of everything that is going on around us, because everything that is always has been. There is nothing new under the sun. It's not any different today than it was 5,000 years ago. But you have been convinced that somehow it is. And so, surrounding those that come to pass were numerous fountains of wisdom, and the assembly was thirsty for what went out of them. And they drank this knowledge to capacity. I mean, it's very sad to say, but when I share wisdom and I watch people yawn and go ho-hum and it means nothing to them, it's not that I see that as a condemnation. It's that for me, it is a revelation. I don't say anything most of the time. I simply observe. And there is no hungry for wisdom in you. You simply want a free way to escape bad. No heart's desire to do good and to be right and all of those things. And there is a peace. Just so you know, many of these things are also spoken by the Sumerians in different texts. What is going on here? Understanding will be in their place of habitation. These people that are hungry for wisdom, understanding will be where they live. That's interesting. Because wisdom will continue with them that are justified, with the holy ones now communing with them of the chosen. The fallen watchers are removed at the time of summoning by the Son of Man, not Lord of the Spirit, Son of Man, a human. That very one named by the Lord of all spirits to have precedence, becoming chief on that day. Before creating the sun and before the first day, he made him who was before the stars in heaven, naming him by his name in the beginning, the Lord of all spirits. Before there ever was anything, when there was nothing but primordial emptiness. There are actually people who have said that they have journeyed in trance to this time frame when nothing existed. Before creating the sun, before the first day, he made him who was before the stars in heaven. So the first emanation of source was Barbello, who is Mother God. And Mother God brought forth the thought of Monad, who was this son who was created before. Not a being that should be born on earth to a virgin, who was born before there was earth. Before creating the sun and before the first day. He made him who was before the stars in heaven, naming him by his name in the beginning, the Lord of all spirits. So actually, in reality, dear friends, the thing that is being talked about that has been turned into a human is actually the spirit. He himself is he who will become killed for the advantage of the justified, and how he is present for them to lean upon, and they will not break in pieces. He himself is light to people, and he will become hope to those afflicted in their heart. The Lord of all spirits. They were falling and bowing down in his presence, all of them placed on the dry land. Then they are giving praise to him and are a blessing to him when they sing in celebration to the name of the Lord of all spirits. The reason he became the concealed elect one was that he was in the presence of the Most High. Source, Monad, God. This elect one was he who created the world, so much so desired by the Most High at that time. Revealing past wisdom according to the Lord of all spirits to the holy ones and the justified, knowledge which cared for and bestowed gifts to mankind by despising those watchers who acted wickedly, repudiated by him on behalf of the world, by restraining the fallen watchers, occupied by his sending them away, who abhorred he who is with the name of the Lord of all spirits. Those who are with the name are his, who escaped the grave into safety. He is the one doing the mustering of these in the grave to become those of they saved from death. And if you read that, you may take that as something to do with the literal carnal death. It's not. Actually, there is an essence there of those who are freed out of the death of reincarnation. You understand, there is the mass majority that will continue this cycle, some for thousands of years. And then there are those who will be the special elite who escape that. O you in their place of the chosen to be there who are his. The fallen watchers will be cast inside the ground, comparable to planting them inside fire. Yet again, another picture of where they drew and then corrupted this concept of hell being a burning place under the ground. When Yeshua says what he says, he's actually talking about those people at that time it would be akin to being thrown in the outward burned trash pile outside of Jerusalem when he said that you will go to Gehenna. He was painting a picture of the suffering that you are going to go through, not a literal thing. When Anki speaks of the Absu and that you will be stripped of everything that you own, and there will be 7 different places in which your stripping will be taken away, and that in the Absu is a place of dullness and loneliness, and you don't need any of the rest. That was ancient, that predated all of this, and this is playing off of that. That's why it's in the underground. It is actually stolen from the Sumerians. And so he is to come on that day, examining the rulers of earth in his presence. He is strong towards them, who he will take captive. Regarding those fallen watchers on the dry ground and the actions of these ungodly, O you who occupied humanity's place, because of on that day, constraining those wicked ones in confinement in a pit, so that they could not escape rising above. O you in their place of the chosen, to be there who are his. The fallen watchers will be cast inside the ground, comparable to planting them inside fire. That is just as molten lead, like being inside those places of burning heat, all because of giving the sanctified precedence to be on the surface. The fallen watchers will be covered, giving priority to the justified on the surface, and the fallen watchers will not reach it because of how they are bound. On that day of his constraining the fallen watchers, they at rest will resurrect above the ground. Those revived will be those who were formerly died, and the fallen watchers will not rise, no, not at all, will they exist by his side. He will seize them because they denounce him to the Lord of all spirits, to the anointed one. The raised ones will be blessing in his name to the Lord of all spirits. So there again, you have the same thing that has been combined in Christianity, and they are, according to Enoch, 2 separate things. That which is wise will spread like water, and its splendor for mankind will not cease for eternity while in his presence. Because he himself is the one with the power for all the justified, concealed from they that acted wickedly, in the way that he protects them who passed away. Was this not his function? From the beginning he was selected as the preserver, the Lord of all saints in his majesty for mankind forever. His virtue came through being born of a woman by his conception. In this he who died in innocence now abides in a spiritual body, wise to things spiritual, knowing them in his consciousness. Could I say to you guys that Enoch was teaching and preaching higher consciousness? He wasn't teaching anything else. Knowing them in his consciousness, and his spiritual body disciplined and prevailed in the spirit. He is to rule over those concealed at the announcement. This declaration will not be in vain to anyone who speaks in his presence. Those who are of the chosen, that are in the presence of the Lord of all saints in the way he desires it. Which gives you a connotation that there may actually still at this point be people that are there, but they're not there in the way that he deems it. Which is quite interesting to think about. So, because they who are on that day of his return will exist through sanctification, they the chosen become bright, dwelling upon her. The sanctified are restored and have magnificent glory. On that day, because of their oppression, the wickedness of the fallen watchers will be collected by defeating them from heaven that sinned, rendering justice to them in the name of the Lord of all spirits. He sees them imprisoned so that they will regret what they did, and they will leave behind the activity of their hands. Which is kind of an interesting concept because it alludes to the fact that there is redemption for the fallen watchers. It will come to pass that mankind is precious with the name of the Lord of all spirits. And by this name, saving them from death, the Lord of all spirits will be compassionate towards them with his abundant mercy. By his abundant mercy, these are justified under his rule in the presence of his majesty. The fallen watchers that acted wickedly will not affect mankind anymore because of his dominion, and they are those he will not have compassion for, depriving them of it. From that time forward, the fallen watchers will never receive compassion, says the Lord of all saints. Then they are gathered from the realm of the dead, put into her protection, who hands over those who have perished, restored by he who paid the debt. He chooses to treat those there with justice, sanctified, being there together in one place, in the way how they draw near to him on that day, saving them from death. The chosen praising on account of dwelling there on that day when he is seated upon his throne, understanding the things concealed, then turning these words around to the chosen by his mouth. The words come forth because the Lord of all spirits bestows these words on them. On that day, they who are dancing in the cities, how the kid goats romp, then the graves pour out those that frolic like kid goats, satiated in their mother's milk. Then they will be established altogether by the angels of heaven in the presence of their light and comfort. On that day the chosen rise up. The earth will rejoice. He renders justice to those who inhabit her, and they, the chosen, will go forth upon her. Wow. What a glorious thought process. Huh? Isn't it amazing that there is such a fine line, and yet we get to hear words that are so magnificent about those that are chosen, those who are light, all of those concepts. It really does, although I know that all of the texts tell us that it's going to be a choice, I just have to look at that and I go, I know that we're all human and we all fail, but how could you want to miss that? I mean, wouldn't it be better to ponder the greatness instead of the punishment? And I know that you can't expose the greatness without exposing that there's punishment for those who do not seek the greatness. But on the other side, you have to admit, that's quite crazy that the love, it's why when people have gone in near-death experiences, the ones who have seen not the light, but the tales that we have of those who have seen the monad light speak only of love and comfort and brightness, and it's absolutely amazing. I would think that that would drive and motivate humanity to desire that. And maybe inevitably all of this is going to accomplish that. And that the rising of consciousness is going to be such in the acknowledgement and the remembering of the light that each and every one of us are. If I look at you today, it doesn't make any difference to me who it is. All have the ability to be light. All do. People make decisions, and we are supposed to be conscious enough to recognize that they have made a decision. Not to pass judgment that they will never change that decision. Only to recognize that they made a decision. And then, of course, we have to set about to protect ourselves from that decision that they made. And that sometimes is the piece that people really don't want to deal with. So he says, then afterwards they remained with me, so I could see where this was to come to pass. All those concealed things revealed to me, seeing them while I was forcefully carried away inside a revolted wind, carried away as the evening came. I'd like for you to see something because it is very, very significant here. And I know we're kind of moving through this pretty fast. But if you will notice, many of these things that are said are first person Enoch, and the things he's saying are about himself. That's a piece most people miss. The greater underlying story here is that most of this is fulfilled in Enoch. That's the greater underlying story, if you didn't get that. Then afterwards they remained with me, so I could see where this was to come to pass. All those concealed things revealed to me, seeing them while I was forcefully carried away inside a revolving wind, carried away as evening came. By this I saw things concealed in heaven and that which is about to come. Seeing all of their resources which existed there, I saw a region of iron, a region of copper, a region of silver, a region of gold, a region of soft metal, and a region of lead. Then I asked the angel proceeding with me in my company, saying, what are these concealed things that I saw? Then he said to me, all of these concealed things you saw will fulfill the needs of those anointed there. Understanding you've been convinced that the anointed one had to do with a Messiah. The anointing is simply something that you possess. Anointing. Watch for the Prince of Peace yet a little while. I'm sorry, okay. Then he said to me, all of these concealed things you saw will fulfill the needs of those anointed there. They who are established by how he commands to have the upper hand upon the earth. He answered me, saying, watch for this, Prince of Peace, yet a little while, and then behold how these regions will uncover themselves to you. In a short time, everything concealed which is covered over will be made known by the Lord of all spirits. So he's now telling Enoch, you're not getting the full picture now, but watch, because the Lord of spirits, through wisdom, is going to reveal to you. These regions you saw with your eyes, an area of iron, of copper and silver and of gold and of soft metal and lead, all of these brought into his presence directed by this elect one. This situation set up like putting sweet honey in the honeycomb in front of a fire. It becomes liquid and drips sweetness down from heaven upon those regions. It will come to pass to see their previous illness there by his measuring. This sweetness is sufficient for them in that day to be saved, not by gold nor silver, making them able to be spared and escape death. There will not be sufficient iron to make war, not enough to be clothed in a coat of mail, and not enough brass for serviceable breastplates. No alloy will be useful, and neither is lead used or desired. Those imprisoned fallen watchers are they that will denounce him, depraved of being present at his appearance on earth when they themselves observed the elect one formerly in the countenance of the Lord of all spirits. And there I saw the sources of the rivers deep and open. O to you who live at the mouth of these rivers, and all they who live upon the dry ground, and the islands atop open water. Those living in these places offered gifts out of respect, offering them to the one who comes. Which is really quite interesting. a concept that just kind of pops into my mind. Think about this, because all of those places that were just mentioned all worship different gods. And look at what the concept. And there I saw the sources of the rivers deep and open. O to you who live at the mouth of these rivers, and all they who live upon the dry ground, and the islands atop open water. Those living in these places, offered gifts out of respect, offering them to the one who comes. O to you that produced all they that labor, to go astray are the ones that your hand has deceived. Wow. They that sin will accuse mankind, and before his face is seen, according to the Lord of all spirits, the fallen watchers will not be present in his earth, and not present to they that rise, because of finishing these fallen watchers before this time for an eternity. For I've seen all of those angels of the adversary scourging while they resided with the women, making it suitable for themselves by restraining them with iron tool. These actions are according to those who were in agreement between themselves, who departed heaven with their company, and because of this, the habitation of the earth will petition to him, the Prince of Peace. Then he said to me, he will command these rulers, they of might, with severity, into the bottom of a pit, depraving them from the earth. Then after this, they in the pit themselves perceived the justified chosen to be on earth, with a longing to be in his assembly from the time forward, becoming companions with the name of the Lord of all spirits. These leaders are not acceptable in the presence of the saved ones. So when the ground is able, it pours out the justified to be on the earth, that they are accepted is shown in the way how they pour out like water to have rest from the affliction of they that sin. These leaders are not acceptable in the presence of the saved ones. You remember I've been talking that part of what's going to happen with higher consciousness is people that are higher consciousness are going to start separating themselves from people who are no longer acceptable. And there it is for you. It's not a new principle. It's an old principle. There is a massive, great, mighty shift that is happening on this earth, folks. And you can look at it and you can not see it, or you can look at it and you can see it, and you can look at it and see it, and you can look at it and not like it. And none of that changes anything. There is a shifting of consciousness that's happening. And so these leaders are not acceptable in the presence of the saved ones. You could actually go as far as saying the same statement in the presence of the conscious ones. You could say in the presence of the enlightened ones. So, when the ground is able, it pours out the justified to be on earth, that they are accepted, is shown in the way how they pour out like water to have rest from the affliction of they that sin. The concept of being poured out like water means you have no resistance to the change. I know that may be surprising to some of you, but those people who flow in the truest manner, in this manner, which is not what's being used to deceive people, because really the flow is to righteousness. The flow is to consciousness. The flow is to brightness, not a flow to easiness. And that's one of the main separations that's going to affect more people than you have a clue of. I'm going to stop right there. It's 54. It's been about an hour and a half, and just about anybody that listen, their mind has a lot of things to think about. There's a wonderful blessing in all of this. It's okay if you don't understand everything. You don't need to. But I will tell you one thing that is also okay. When Source chooses, Source will give you insights, thoughts, and processes if you avail yourself to gain pieces of understanding. And every one of those pieces of understanding are like a great gift given. They may not change you completely in one day or one time, but maybe some of you have begun to recognize that you seem to get a knowing, and that knowing is always towards rightness. If you're getting knowings and it's towards wrongness, then you're still under the archons. But for those who have left the archons and are looking for righteousness, Source is faithful. He has no problems in those people who prove their truthfulness, their authenticity of bringing wisdom, peace, and understanding. And so we're going to take a look at the rest. It's just about 20 chapters. It probably won't take 45 minutes next week. But I think it's relevant. Why? Well, it's relevant on many levels, and I'm not going to get into that. I've already mentioned some of those, and I hope some of you on your own already see some of the relevance. Certainly, there's nothing about this that resembles what, and so now you would understand why in 500 AD they told one of the greatest theologians that existed, they made him a heretic after his death, because he said to the people that existed at that time that this is the truth. What Christianity is teaching is a lie. And so they made Origen's name anathema. If you were caught after 500 AD teaching this and reincarnation, you would be killed. And they killed many. So I'm thankful that we can get the blessing to get to read it in the time that we're in, because time is short and many things are being exposed, just as Enoch said they would. So peace to each and every one of you. If things don't always line up with what it is let yourself be poured out anyway. We're going to take just a few minutes here, 10 minutes or so. Me and Dave are going to try to do our best to bless you guys, and I hope you will be blessed. So we'll be back in about 10 minutes after we have a cup of coffee and breathe for a minute, and we'll bless you with a few songs, and then I'll share some parting things, and I hope you guys have an amazing week this week. Shalom and namaste. right. Well, blessings to each and every one of you guys. I know that some of this stuff for some of you may be really foreign, but I hope that you at least are care enough that you would recognize that just because it overwhelms you or you don't know anything about it, that really doesn't have anything to do with making truth. It just simply means you're placed to things. And so I hope that something will resonate with you and you will recognize that maybe there really are more things going on in this world than what we can see, because as we go along and I assure you many of these things are going to be manifested. They're already starting to be. If you wait 50 years from now, there won't be any teaching of Christianity. And so how can it be the only unspoken truth when it's already in the edge of total collapse? You might ask yourself that question. So the first thing that we're going to sing about today is a song about us waiting on Source. Everything is ordered and everything has a time. And if you understand the concept of fate being a time in history where something is set to occur, it's not the outcome of the thing, it's the setting of the appointment. It's like you make an appointment with the doctor, but it's not the doctor's appointment. It's simply the setting of that time. If you understand what the Sumerians talked about when they talk about fate, fate is the setting of the time. You get to choose and you get to determine what the outcome of that time is. So that's a beautiful note, but it's really huge. I have begun to see that when I find myself in places and I recognize that it is a fate, then I simply have to ask myself, how do I want this fate to come out? And then you work appropriately. And so it's really been quite amazing. It's saved me a lot of trouble, and when I haven't recognized, sometimes I've gotten myself into trouble. So anyway, waiting on Source by faith.
Have mercy. Been waiting on Source by faith. Have mercy. Been waiting on Source by faith. Got my mind on Him and I know I'm safe. Righteous, I know it's got my back. Righteous, I know he's got my back. In my life, mercy. His word my guiding light. Have mercy. His word my guiding light. Well, his light's inside me and I have no lack.
All right. Wow. Thank you very much for the kindness and the goodness. You know, so many things. The world is amazing, and yet sometimes it's very contrary to us. And so I'm thankful today that we get an opportunity to have freedom and to have peace and to learn and to grow and to go through struggles. And I know that none of us like it, and I certainly don't either. But friends, sometimes the struggles have been the greatest sources of wisdom and knowledge that I've ever possessed. And so I'm quite sure that is for everybody, but you have to, I guess you have to choose to see it in that manner. But on the other side, we all get to make a choice about what it is that we are pursuing in life, whether it be waiting on source by faith, trusting Him. We don't have all the answers, and for many of you that are walking in the faith way, you recognize that some days, I mean, that's the hardest thing, is continuing to go on and continuing to trust when you don't see the results or you don't see the manifestation. And yet the truth is, folks, is that Source always has a plan. And so the next song we're going to do is yet again, I guess, another anthem to humans out there, and decisions that we get to make about who we are, what we are, and why we're here at that level. And the name of the song is Truth Seeker.
Will set you free.
I don't know what you are, dear friend, but I want to know what the truth is. If it hurts, I still want to know. If it causes change, I still want to know. I want to be poured out like water, and I want to flow where truth is. And so I'm sure that there's others that are as well. And if you are, shalom and peace and namaste to you. We will be back in just a few minutes. We're going to take just a look at one of those small as you think, which is one of the most profound scriptures in the verse, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. We'll be back in just a second. All right. Well, peace to each and every one of you guys. I hope that we were a blessing and those few songs. It's always quite enlivening to feel that. So we are. I'm going to share out of this. All of them are truths every week that I share. This stuff is they're all truths. They're pieces of the things that I teach. They're different perspectives of the exact same idol, and they're really not any different at all, to be quite honest with you. Different wording and different directions, but it's all the same because everything is the same. It is actually very small, the core of truth, and I think sometimes that makes it difficult for people because they think that they need a lot and they really don't. So we'll see what he has to say. I think you might be surprised. He says, men go after much company and they seek out new excitements. Sound like our society? But they are not acquainted with peace. In diverse paths of pleasure, they search for happiness, but they do not come to rest. Through diverse ways of laughter and feverish delirium, they wander after gladness and life. But their tears are many and they're grievous, and they never escape death. So, wow, the magnitude of that earthquake is so profound. And yet, I think anyone who has a reasoning heart would very clearly nod in the affirmative. Absolutely, that's what our society is created on. And so for those of you that are trying to go somewhere else, let me encourage you to continue to go. If anything that I've shared to you feels like I'm beating on you, then you probably don't need to listen to me, because you're always going to think I'm beating on you, when in reality what I'm doing is exposing truth that you are ignorant of. And sometimes it's really hard to take truth. For most people, most of the time, it's hard to take truth. And so none of us are as horrible as we make ourselves to be. None of us are as smart as we think ourselves to be. None of us are as kind as we convince ourselves we are. And yet, we're so much more than all of that. So drifting upon the ocean of life in search of selfish indulgences, looking for the next thing that will make me feel usually good. For some people, we live in a society where it seems like pain and shame and embarrassment. There's a lot of people in the younger society that are looking for that. Whatever it is that's lacking in the home, there is a lot of our youth and our teens that are looking for pain. I know that some of you may not see that, but I promise you it is. I go research lots of things, what is happening with our society and what is happening with our youth, and it is very prevalent in our society that people want to hurt. And so, drifting upon the ocean of life in search of selfish indulgences, men are caught in its storm, and only after many tempests and much privation do they fly to the rock of refuge. And hopefully those are the blessed ones, those are the lucky ones, those are the good ones, however you want to word that, because there's an equal number, or most probably quite a bit more, that never make it to that point. So, which rests in the deep silence of their own being. It's really easy to get lost in this time we live in. I'm not talking about lost in the concept of Christianity. I'm talking about lost in the concept of who you are and what you are and what life is. And it's really easy in the world we're living in, because everything is so confusing. What used to be up is down. What used to be down is up. What used to be guy is now girl or it or thing. Or I mean, it's just none of it makes any sense, and yet all of it makes sense. We are on a path. Humanity has an opportunity to, as many people say, we have a chance to evolve. But understand that's just a potential. Just because someone is telling you that they are evolving does not mean that they are evolving. Just because some sect tells you that if you do these things, you will evolve or your frequency will shift or whatever, doesn't necessarily mean that those things are going to happen. It is an individual journey that each one of us must go on. And how you go about that, the spirit in which you go about that, the alignment that you have in that, the intentions that you set for that, all of those things are infinitely more important than everything else. And so, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Meditation centered upon divine realities is the very essence and soul of prayer. It is the silent reaching upward of the soul towards the eternal. And I would even go, and I know what he means, so I'm not struggling with what he said. I would like to add in there the reaching upward and inward, because upward is inward. And so mediation is the intense dwelling in thought. And that's supposed to be meditation. It's a typo in this book. It took me a second. But meditation is the intense dwelling in thought. And when you live in a society, it's not wrong when you hear speakers that are talking about you are being distracted. I would say that the mass majority crawl inside of their cell phone and live most of their life there. It really is absolutely like the movie The Matrix talks about. And so, can there be a balance? Of course there can. Can you use something for good or use it for bad? Of course you can. Just the choice of what you do. And so, it is the silent reaching inward of the soul towards the eternal. Meditation is the intense dwelling in thought upon an idea or a theme with the object of thoroughly comprehending it. Sometimes that thoroughly comprehending might be yourself. Maybe you paid attention enough to yourself to recognize you constantly do things that are both against yourself as well as against others. Many people never make it to that point. And so, whatsoever you constantly meditate upon, you will not only come to understand, but you will grow more and more into its likeness. Really profound statement. As you think inside of you, so are you. And consequently, because of your thinking, that's also what you're presenting. That's what you are releasing. And so, whatsoever you constantly meditate upon, you will not only come to understand it, but you will grow more and more into its likeness. For it will become incorporated with your very being. Will become, in fact, your very self. And so, the connotation there goes on both levels. Whether you are meditating on things that are not good, then that's what you're becoming. If you're meditating on things that are right, then that will push you towards that's what you're becoming. And so we have a choice, an opportunity. It is a choice, and it always will be a choice. But really it's more a potential opportunity to become what it is that we're thinking about. Wow. If therefore you constantly dwell upon that which is selfish and debasing, you will ultimately become selfish and debased. If you think ceaselessly upon that which is pure and unselfish, you will surely become pure and unselfish. There was more to David's reminding himself every day that he would live in the house of God, if you would. And it doesn't matter whether that was for David was Yahweh is irrelevant. The principle is what is correct. And I'm quite sure David found that out many thousands of years ago. So for each and every one of us, then we get to do these things. And many times the words get said and people walk by them and nothing ever reaches. And there's really nothing anybody can do about that. The beauty to this reality to me is that I don't have to be held captive by you, and neither do I have to worry about changing you. It's your business what you do. Christianity told you that you somehow had the ability to save someone, and reality, you have no ability to save anyone except yourself. So can you be a help in someone else's journey based on what they are inside? Yes. Can you show good kindness? Of course you can, but that's still not their choice. That is your choice, whether to do it or not. So for each and every one of you, I think you're going to notice is that some have already, that there's something in the cosmic realm that is starting to tell people things are getting worse, and they're getting a lot worse. If you feel that uneasiness, then you know. At the same time, there's also something in the cosmos that is telling people that you're on the right path, continue here, and that will be the protectant. And so for those of you who are recognizing that both are valid, and one is this piece and the other is this that I have to use to protect myself, then you have well begun the storyline of ascending to higher consciousness. Peace to each and every one of you guys. I hope you have an amazing week. I hope it's not too hot wherever you're at. We're going to be near 100 here, and I talked to someone, and it's 111 degrees in Austin yesterday, so that's pretty dang hot. So keep a hat on and don't fry your brain. It's the only one you got. Peace and shalom to each and every one of you. Namaste.